guys, Zodako's here, and we're finally about to begin the first review on this channel! More like the first full review, but nonetheless. After all, the basis of this channel was originally meant to be ZX games and reviews, and here I was with all these games and no reviews. So, without further ado, here's my review of Outlast! Outlast, a game made by Red Barrels, is a survival first-person horror that takes place in Mount Massive Asylum where you, the player, gets to be an investigative reporter by the name of Miles Upshur. Miles gets an email to go to Mount Massive to look into what the big bad company Murkoff has been up to. With only a video camera that has night vision on it as your weapon of choice, Miles is thrown into a world of madness where he's willing to get thrown out of windows, punched in the gut, being labeled as essentially the messiah for a crazy priest who thinks burning himself alive is a good way to go, getting his fingers chopped off by a doctor who's not actually a doctor, be threatened by two naked guys who want to eat his liver, and become the host for a mythical, not mythical being made up of tiny robots known as the Walrider, all for a story. To all other journalists! Get good! While moving through all the locations of Mount Massive Asylum, Miles finds batteries for his cameras and documents that shouldn't be left around for everyone to come by and read. Most of them are about Billy Hope, the current host for the Walrider, Chris Walker, the main enemy, Rick Traeger, the doctor not doctor, Dr. Wernicke, who is behind everything, and other Murkoff notes and pleas about the Walrider project and being able to figure out how to get funding, etc. These documents appear in random places throughout the game and even in the final basement level, when Miles meets Dr. Wernicke, the creator of the Walrider project. Dr. Wernicke tells Miles to kill Billy in hopes of putting an end to the Walrider's rampage. When Miles does end up getting rid of Billy, the Walrider then possesses Miles and the journalist is killed? The ending is still very unclear to me. The body of Miles seems to be dead, but the Walrider still uses him as a host. So there is a chance that the Walrider is keeping Miles alive by actively trying to push out the bullets inside of Miles' body. The game itself moves and feels like any other game or horror game or first-person computer game or whatever, with basic controls of WASD to move, control, mouse, etc. Plus the added F and R for night vision and reload batteries for the camera, which in my case got messed up a lot. I don't know, no, I just wasted a battery. I meant to press F. No! The music did help to create a thrilling ride that got my heart rate up and my shoulders tensed. I find that to have a good horror game, you should have an even better soundtrack. While I did find the game to be actually enjoyable and even enjoyable enough for me to put on my top 10 list of horror games I've ever played, I still had some issues with it. My first issue. The game could really benefit from having a map. There are so many rooms that Miles goes into that would have a better map of the asylum laying down. The entrance, the security room, and most offices would have something. However, no map is to be found. I was hoping for a couple of maps of different floors of the asylum to help figure out where I am and where I'm supposed to go, because sometimes I would walk in a completely different direction only to find that I might have missed some important documents. My second issue, the cheap jump scares. Not all jump scares are cheap, but there were a few scattered about that I found to be cheap. Even at the beginning of the game, one of the first doors I opened had a dead body come flying down. Where was that body to begin with? Why did it know to fall at the exact moment that I walked through the door? Or the man who comes out of nowhere during the time that I had no camera. While other jump scares were well played, the first appearance of Chris Walker and the death of Chris Walker were two of my favorite jump scares in the game. The other was opening the door to see the two naked twins standing there. It introduced a threat that kept me tense. For me personally, some of the scariest moments are when I was tense and creeping around to find a switch or a fuse that I needed. I think it was Zero Punctuation who had said the less you see a monster, the more frightening it is, or something along those lines. One of the scariest moments for me was during one of the Chris Walker stalking scenes where I was inside of a locker and not entirely sure where he was, or if he was getting closer to the point where I had to talk about my musical history with the tuba to help myself calm down. Were there good jump scares? Yes, but there were only a few and the rest really weren't necessary. Third issue, demonizing the mentally ill. This is another horror game that takes place in an asylum where it demonizes the mentally ill and goes into what most horror games try to bank on. Creepy hospitals, creepy asylums, and crazy people trying to kill you. This is one of those topics that did hit close to home, so I'm really just gonna leave it at you don't need to use the mentally ill as the bad guys, monsters, or etc. to help you get the creep factor in your game. Because I've been seeing it a lot in games, including some more well-known games, and it's getting pretty annoying. I'm personally getting sick of it, and I know a lot of other people are as well. Non-binary robots, gamebound, the ableism within goes more into what I'm poorly explaining, and do it the justification the discussion needs. They focus on the extreme negative effects that showing a mentally ill person in a bad light have on the general consensus of certain populations, and even go further into that. I'll have it somewhere up here, and the link in the description below. Fourth issue. Not once does Miles think that he has enough on his camera and with all the documents to turn around and go home. Locked front door or not, he could have broken through a window on the first floor. He could have figured out how to get back to the landing he got in on and climb back out. This man is either incredibly brave or incredibly daft. In this case, it's probably both. Because never in his notes does he mention wanting to leave. After getting drugged, beat up, fingers removed, and sewage stench all over him, not once does he ever think, you know what? I have enough evidence on my camera from all the documents that I have no pockets or backpack for, and all my notes on a notebook that apparently fits somewhere on my really cool jacket. But I should take a chair and bash a window open or make myself a ladder and get out of here. Bye, guys! But every time there is something that keeps him inside of the building and to never leave and always to get the last bit of information that he needs for his story. To all other journalists, get good! My final opinion? It's a good game. While it falls under using negative tropes and lacks in some basic necessities, it was still good. I mean, again, I have it on my top 10 horror games I've played. Lower on the list, but still there. Nonetheless, this is just my personal opinion of the game and in no way is fact. And remember, stay awesome, stay you, and thanks for watching. Bye!
Oh, Jesus Christ, bro! Oh, God. No, don't look at me!
Will you two calm down over there? I'm trying to be professional. Look at little Gorgonzola go. Whoosh! There she goes again. There she goes for the fourth time. Fifth time. She's a little fat. She's a little speeding bullet and I can't stop. What are you doing? Why are you two having fun? They're having fun.